And go live. I can't tell if I'm live. Oh, apparently I am starting. I am in stream health mode. Nice, I'm live. Cool, yeah. I'll just turn the audio off on this. Okay, so yeah, I just have this running in the background while we discuss this. So, we wanted to discuss. Hello, welcome back to CaGPod, episode 2, my people. You want to link this?
That's fine. Your thing is loud.
Oh, turn it down. I literally don't even have the audio on.
Oh, you don't even have it on. Okay.
Yeah, no.
Do you know if it's loud on us for us?
It's not playing at all on my computer, if that's what you mean. How do I...
No. What's your
Yeah.
YouTube channel?
Just
Or did
CaGPod.
you
Here, give me a second. There. I'll drop this in something. League upload sounds right.
Your music's not playing.
I know, I don't want to play music. That's the goal.
Oh, okay.
Just supposed to be a video in the background so we can kind of look at stuff. But I didn't realize it was only going to be a clip and not actual, like, the actual opening. So that sucks. Is there any better, like, Pokemon anime openings compilation thing? Right, it's the actual openings.
No, this will probably be better so we don't get like flagged.
Alright. Well, as long as this is fine, you know, I don't care. You guys can
YouTube
just
does
look
not-
at some anime.
YouTube does not give content ID help for channels with like 1 subscriber.
Alright.
Okay, so did you have the 3 questions I have?
Yeah. I'll get it pulled up in a second.
Okay. Yep. So number 1, underrated movies that you like.
Mm-hmm. As far as underrated movies, define underrated before we get into this.
So something that like, I mean,
Like, underrated in that movie's community, or underrated in a community that doesn't know anything about these movies and what they are?
I was gonna say more of like it wasn't a huge success at the box office or anything like that, but it's actually pretty good. Like, okay, I'll take this one out of there because this is standard. Fight Club.
Okay.
Fight Club was a good movie, but it didn't do well at the
I
box office.
still wouldn't say it's an underrated movie. That's a perfectly rated movie. Everybody says it's one of the best movies of all time.
Right. Well, now it is. So the question is what's the next like Fight Club where it's underrated and it shouldn't be underrated. It should be at a Fight Club level where everyone loves it now, even though when it came out, like nobody liked it.
I don't know. I don't watch too many good movies.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, I mostly just watch bad movies that I think are trash, but they're good. I think maybe a few years from now, have you seen Alita Battle Angel?
Oh, I haven't seen it, but I've heard about it. Is it any good?
It has some pacing issues in like the very last like 40 minutes or so, just because it has like 3 different endings. It's kind of the same problem that like, you know, Lord of the Rings has. But it's like
Except
a
Lord of the Rings is paced out over 3 movies, and this is
yeah,
one.
so yeah, it's kind of the same thing. Like it kind of ends and gets to a point, and then they're just like, wait, it's not over yet. It's just continuing. Okay, and then it ends again, and then it's like, all right, so this is the ending, right? And then they're like, nah, we're just gonna keep going, and then it ends like one more time, and that's like the end of the movie. And the end of the movie is like a super big cliffhanger, and it's dumb. But other than that, the movie itself is like really good. I liked it a lot.
Okay.
And, like, if it ever gets its sequel that it deserves, it should be good. I just hope it sets up more premise, because there's not a whole lot of world building that goes in. You're just kind of expected to, like, believe what it's showing you without them actually kind of showing you how A got to B and all that.
Mm-hmm.
But there's no, like, outright, you know, contradictions or anything.
All right, that's a good underrated movie we can like. My my choice. This came up in my recommended feed. It was Watchmen, the
Uh,
uh the Zack Snyder one.
yeah, I know which one you're talking about. Having not seen it and having only watched a review of it recently, I think the idea, the premise of it sounds cool. Like, I like it. I understand why it wasn't, a big success at the box office because it came out like right after Iron Man and people were just expecting another like Iron Man X-Men clone.
Yeah, they were expecting an actual superhero movie, but nobody really knew what the Watchmen
And
comic
then,
book series is all about.
well, the actual fans of the Watchmen comic series knew what it was about, but then they were still upset because they didn't get quite what they wanted.
You are never gonna like. You are
But
never gonna
again,
get.
the video I was watching was basically like, yes, they had to condense a basically 450-page graphic novel down into like a 150-page like movie script, maybe, and then
Yeah,
condense it down to 2 hours for a cinema and like 3 hours for the home release.
yeah. So there's a few things they cut out. I know they cut out a lot of the early stuff,
Hmm.
the early setup, which they do kind of give like a lot of flashbacks to it. I know in the unedited or the non-cinematic cut, they have a lot more of the old Owlman and the new Owlman talking. Um, and they have the old Owlman's death, which kind of ties into the movie a little bit. And they also have the story. Um, there's like a story within the story about a guy going on reading. I think it's like a comic book about Captain Ahab or something like that. Like it's a comic book about someone about like a Captain Ahab kind of thing. I believe that's how it is. Um,
Yeah. I've only read like the first probably few pages and then I kind of just stopped. I don't remember why. I think I just got distracted. But again,
oh,
it's a premise that I think is cool, but I
it
don't
is
know enough about it.
it's it's done actually pretty decently well as far as like what it's supposed to be. I think its marketing definitely killed it.
Yeah.
Um,
Much like or what is it? No, Birds of Prey. That marketing god ended that movie before it even had a chance.
yeah. Okay. So the thing is inside the inside it's called Tales of the Black Freighter.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, I think there's a bunch more of that in like the super extended movie version,
mhm.
is what I was told.
They also do. They also. I don't think it's that big of a deal, but they change the the like thing. So I
I
guess
also know that they
spoilers.
changed the ending, yeah. Otherwise,
Uh,
don't spoil too much.
well, I'm gonna have to spoil it to explain what they changed and why it's actually not a bad.
I know, I already understand it, but don't spoil it more than I need it to be.
So they made Doctor Manhattan the villain when in the comics he's not.
Yeah, it's a giant space squid or whatever, but don't spoil
Hmm.
anything else because I still want to see it.
So I think the change with Doctor Manhattan actually works because
Mm-hmm.
in the movie they they kind of build up that like a lot of the tension and a lot of like what the cold like this was written in like the late 70s early 80s, so it was still when the Cold War tension was building up. And so the whole point in the movie is that the Soviets are feeling more and more threatened because the US can unleash all of its nukes and any Soviet response just gets stopped by Dr. Manhattan. So there's a lot of tension built up around Dr. Manhattan, and there's like a plot against Dr. Manhattan to get him to leave the planet. And then they make him into the villain in the movie, and I think it works. I don't think I don't think you could get the tentacle monsters in there, but it's something that
I think the whole point about the tentacle monsters is that they were supposed to just kind of be like, the ultimate unknown. Literally nobody knows anything about them except that they're dangerous, and that if the world doesn't like band together to fight them, they're not going to be able to do it.
well that's kind of what they do with Dr. Manhattan as well.
Well, yeah, but the thing is with Dr. Manhattan, you literally couldn't fight him if you did band together. He's just that OP.
Um so there are ways to fight him. and there's like he is considered like the strongest, but
It'd be like trying to fight Superman. Like theoretically, it could be done if he had some sort of weakness, but I don't know enough about the character to understand if he does.
okay, I'm gonna have to spoil it. We'll watch it. We'll watch
We'll
it.
we'll watch it by next week. We can talk about it then. Let's do a different movie.
But
Like we
they
can
make
watch
it
it after this. I don't care.
okay. Um okay, another underrated movie.
All right. I
Go ahead.
have one. Yeah,
Go ahead.
it's called Velocipaster.
Oh my god, yes.
It's like a really dumb meme movie. Did you see it yet?
I have not.
It's on Amazon Prime streaming for free if you have Amazon Prime. I would highly recommend seeing it. But the core premise is that there's like a pastor man whose parents die, and he gets like really depressed and goes on like this big spiritual journey around the world, like trying to find different people, and eventually ends up in China somehow for like roughly 60 seconds of film time. While he's in China, he sees this woman die who hands him this dinosaur claw, and she's like, please, you must protect this claw. But she says it in Chinese, and he's like, I don't understand you, what? Like, no, you have to run from the drug lords. And he's like, I don't speak Chinese. So he just takes the claw and, like, leaves, and she dies. And then goes back to America and is like, I've completed my journey. And then over the course of the rest of the movie, he goes through, like, random times where he'll randomly turn into, like, a dinosaur or parts of his body will when he's, like, angry or in, like, some state of rage or, like, extreme
So
emotion.
it's basically the Hulk, but instead of turning into a giant green monster, you turn into a velociraptor.
Yeah, and like the villains of the film, like he goes over this like spiritual journey of like self-discovery and meets this girl who's like I think she's a prostitute and he like takes a big liking to her and she's just like, "You know, you could like use your dinosaur powers to kill my pimp cuz he's a bad dude and sells drugs to kids." And he's like, "No, killing is wrong. I can't do that cuz I'm a
Oh my
pastor."
oh my god,
And
it's
then
that
over the
bad.
course of the movie, well, yeah, it's really bad. And then over the course of the movie, he like finds out that hey, yeah, you know what? I should kill this villain because he is bad and he's the one who actually blew up my parents to begin with. And then he has to take on this secret kung fu drug ring, and it's great. I highly recommend watching it as like a meme movie. That one
Okay.
and Poultrygeist, Night of the Chicken Dead. Both of those are exceptional.
Okay, I'm going to pick this as my underrated movie because the one that like relates to it, it would be my favorite movie.
Hmm.
Would be going under my favorite movie, which is our third one. So I'm going to say Moneyball.
Okay, I've never seen this. Please describe the premise.
Okay, so it's a sports movie,
Hmm.
but it explains it pretty well as to what's going on. So it follows the Oakland A's, and it's based off of a true story.
Okay.
So both of these movies are books written by Michael Lewis, who used to be a bond salesman or tradesman, where he would like make hundreds of millions of dollars over the course of a year, and he quit to write books. So he went in and followed the Oakland A's in baseball, and basically the Oakland A's one year lost their three best players and did better the next year, and nobody could explain why. And so he kind of went in and looked at it and saw that like they had adopted this system of they basically called it Moneyball, where you find undervalued players based off of stats instead of just like the old school thinking of how he looks pitching versus what he actually produces. So it kind of goes through that story, and it
Okay.
tells it's not a baseball movie. Like it's not a baseball movie, but it's also not like a straight stats movie. Like it's told interestingly with some conflict in there and some payoff, but it doesn't have like a happy ending to it because the
Hmm.
Oakland A's never went that far. Like they make the playoffs and all, but like if you understand like a little bit about baseball, it's like they're a team that has like a third or a fourth of the budget of some of the teams they're competing against. So theoretically, they shouldn't be good at all, yet somehow they are still beating all of these other teams.
Okay. I mean, that sounds interesting. Perhaps we can watch it at some point.
It also has Chris Pratt before he was famous. It has him as like an extra, which is hilarious to see. You'll like when you find him and you see him as like kind of an extra as like one of the players, it's kind of a cool nod to see where he started.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then it's got who's the funny guy, like the fat funny guy from Superbad?
I don't know. I've never seen Superbad.
Um, God, what's his name?
Just look him up real quick.
Yeah, I'm
It'll be fine. We got time. There's only like 4 people watching right now. Hello, 4 people,
uh
by the way. We
it's
love
not
you.
Seth it's not Seth Rogen. Let me see. Jonah Hill. Jonah Hill.
Oh,
It,
yeah. He's good in most things. I don't really know. I
it's
haven't seen him in a lot.
he is like when he plays a serious character, he's actually like pretty decent. Like it actually shows him as like a good actor. And it's also like the main character is Brad Pitt as well, so that's what kind of sells the movie is that Brad Pitt plays the main character.
Okay.
So it's actually a pretty decent movie. Um, like even if you're not a sports guy, you can still kind of get invested in it and see how.
I mean, I have seen enough, like, sports movies to understand that not all sports movies revolve around sports.
Yeah, so it doesn't really revolve around that, but it kind of revolves around a lot of concepts about
Like,
changing the.
just look at Cool Runnings. That's a movie about sports that's not actually about sports. It's just about
Oh.
friendship and the friends we made along the way.
um. Okay, you want to move on to topic number two?
Yeah, if you want. What other obscure shows slash anime people should watch? I'll start.
Go
Megalobox.
ahead.
Please watch it. Go right now. If you're watching this stream, stop and go watch Megalobox. It's
What's it
so
about?
good. It is a boxing anime. It like set in like 20 something years in a distant, weird future, where people have decided that boxing is too boring. So what they're gonna do is strap like robot arms and like masks on their faces so that they can hit each other even harder. And the main premise is that there's this guy named Joe, and he's not actually named Joe. He doesn't really have a name. He kind of chooses the name Joe because he sees a sign about being an average Joe, and he's like, haha, that's me. But we'll call him Joe for the premise of this. He wants to be the best boxer in like the Megalobox ring or whatever, and in order to do so, he goes out of his way to realize that, hey, I don't have the money or like parts to actually build a super good robot fighting suit. I'll literally never be able to do it if I go the robot fighting way because I don't have like the backing. So what I'll do instead is I'll just ditch the robot parts and I'll just go straight up normal boxing versus their robot boxing. And the like idea is that if he gets hit like one time, he is out of commission for possibly the rest of his life. So he has to get like insanely good at like footwork and dodging and stuff. But the thing is with the robot suits is that they usually have like some sort of tell when they're gonna punch and stuff. So it's a little bit easier to counter if you don't have all of that extra robot weight like weighing you down. So instead of it being a war of attrition, it's more of get in, land some punches on the guy and hopefully knock him out before he can hit you. And it also tells a story about this guy Joe and his like this random guy he bumps into named Yuri who ends up being like the best robot fighter in the world and has like his robot suit literally ingrained in his body. Like it is built into his flesh. It is sewn into his skin. It is like a skin tight armor suit. And he eventually like gets so much like admiration for Joe that Yuri's just like, you know what? I don't actually need this robot suit. I'm gonna fight this man in the final championship battle without my robot suit, and we are just gonna see who wins. Like, do or die. I might die from this surgery to remove this robot suit from my skin, but I'm gonna do it, and it's so good, man. The characters are like great. Like even just the trainer guy, the little kid that he brings along the way, Joe does. It's so good.
Okay. Okay,
And
I'll go with my. Oh, you.
Well, I was gonna say, even if you don't like sports animes, just give it a try, because it's like very much in the style of like Cowboy Bebop and stuff. All of the art and the music and the action.
Okay. I do like Cowboy Bebop, so.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, my first one. It's coming up 2 months from now. I would recommend waiting until for another 2 months or so, and then watching Shiki.
Iki,
Yes.
what's it about?
So it's an anime based in like rural Japan, like a town of like maybe 100 people or so, like in the middle of nowhere. And Shiki is like a Japanese vampire. So like a Japanese vampire family moves in, and nobody believes that they're actually vampires. So they kind of start slowly taking over the town because it's so remote that nobody's going to notice except for the people in the town, but they can't really do anything about it. Um, and then you're kind of following two main characters. You're following the town doctor who's trying to figure out what's going on with everyone, and you're also following um, like the main, like, I guess it's the anime trope cool kid. You're following him around, and they kind of know, so they kind of figure out and know, but they're trying to prove it to everyone else to do something. And so it's basically a race of the Shiki taking over more people versus them getting to the majority of the town folk to stop it. So it's like the closest thing to scary anime, and so I would recommend watching it around Halloween. Um, it's not really that scary like the second or third time around, but it's only like 24 episodes or something like that.
Okay.
I'll check right now.
I mean, if you like that, you probably like the Junji Ito anime stories. Like it's just
Um,
body horror and cool shit. Like it's really I love Junji Ito. He's like one of the best horror manga artists like out there. Like his stuff is so like horrible and twisted. It's been put on like shirts and things and people don't even know it's from like anime and stuff.
well,
Uh
it's not really a gory anime. It's
well,
more of like a
it's not even
psychological thing.
always gory. Like sometimes it'll just be like, ah, yes, my goal in life is just to turn myself into a spiral, and it's just people that like want to twist their bodies and stuff, and like that's it, or like they just do nothing but make spirals, and it's like a weird thing where people are like, man, this isn't right. We got to fix this. People are getting really obsessed with these spirals, and there's like a big journey, and that's one of like his most well-known works.
Um, I mean, it's not so much that. It's kind of it's more of like a just a like not necessarily scary, but like thriller.
Okay, so just like a psycho thriller thing.
Hmm.
All right.
And it's only 22 episodes, and they're all like 30, like they're the standard anime length, so it's like 23 minutes, but you can skip like 5 minutes of it at the front and back. So it's pretty watchable, especially like for the month of October,
Mm-hmm.
just like Halloween stuff. But it's actually a pretty decent obscure show that I would recommend people watch.
All
So,
right.
all right, you're up again.
All right. This one's kind of currently running. I've been watching it for like the last like 4-ish weeks. It's brand new. It's called The Misfit of Demon King Academy. I think episode 5 came out like yesterday or something. It's very good. Basically, the premise is that 2,000 years ago, the Demon King like sacrificed his life to divide the world, so like hell and heaven and the normal plane of existence would be all separated. And he had like this hero help him do it, and he was like, in like 1,000 to 2,000 years, I'll be reborn. It'll be okay. So just help me do this. And then they did, and that's what happened. And then now we fast forward 2,000 years, and the Demon King has been reborn, and they are like trying to figure out who it is and how that person could be. So they have this Demon King Academy thing where they have all of the students come and be like, aha, yes, obviously, this is how we will find out which student is the Demon King. However, this story follows the actual Demon King, who is just so far above and beyond like the rest of the competition. It's kind of humorous. Like the first episode takes place, he bumps into somebody who's like, "I am the true Demon King. You're nothing but a simpleton, you peasant." And the actual Demon King boy is just like, "Aha! Well, how about I show you how weak you truly are?" And just by the beating of his heart and like the vibrations it causes, he kills this man like over and over again and brings him back to life using what's called the 3 second rule in the show. And it's just kind of a funny like it's like what One Punch Man would be if it were like an isekai type thing.
Okay, so it's another offshoot of that One Punch Man phenomena.
Sort of, but it's like it's really its own thing. Like it tells its own like actual good story mixed in with like this crazy overpowered shit. Like in the fourth episode, he's already killed one god. So and it's literally just because he wants to save like one person. He's just like, "Ah, for you, I'll even fight a god," and he does it.
Okay,
It's super wholesome and I like it a lot.
all right, my turn.
Go for it.
Okay, so this one I like, even though I think like the last few episodes are awful, like like show ruining, but like the beginning and middle of it is actually like so like I enjoyed it so much that I'm willing to overlook that in recommending this.
Uh-huh.
It's called Jormungand.
Okay, that's not where I thought you were going with this.
Oh,
But
you thought I was going Death Note?
no, see Death Note, I even like the last couple episodes. But no, there's a show called Darling in the Franxx that like the entire fan base for that show will just straight up tell you, "Hey, don't watch the like last 3 episodes. They are utter dog shit. Like it's so bad." Like the first like 22 episodes or something of the show is like actually really good and like wholesome. It kind of falls apart towards the end, but like it builds up these really good characters and stuff, but then like the last 3 episodes it's just like, "All right, so we're going to space now and this spaceship becomes a woman and then she fights in space against these aliens and that's the end." It's
Oh,
really
is that
bad.
like a robot show?
Sort of. It's about like what 14-year-olds in robots and they're in like doggy style position to pilot the robots and there's a man in the back and a woman in the front always.
Is it are they like underground?
No.
Oh, okay.
That's
I'm
probably
thinking of
Gurren Lagann.
yes, that's the one.
It's the same company I think that made both.
Okay. So, okay, so no, this one is I think it's like 30 let me you know what? I have the thing pulled up here. Let me find out how long it actually is.
Okay. I'll try and
Uh
entertain the like one other person that's watching this stream with us.
hold
Uh
on. It's
all right.
uh there's like 3 different seasons, I think, and I think the 3rd season is where it like really drops off. Uh okay. Um oh, it's only 24. Okay.
Only 24. Wow.
Yeah.
The short ass anime.
Yeah. So the basic premise is there's a woman who's like an arms dealer and she's like the lesser of 2 arms dealing saleswomen or whatever.
Mhm.
Um so she doesn't have like an army that protects her. She has like some hired goons, I guess you could call it, or like ex-mercenary type people.
All right.
And so like first episode she finds like some child soldier and takes him, and then like their whole thing is they try and raise this child soldier to be like a functioning adult. But like every episode is basically just she's going to do an arms deal, someone's trying to stop her, so then it's like 19 guys against like 100 in like city warfare.
Yeah. Sounds like an anime.
So it's pretty basic, but I kind of like it. Just the city warfare aspect of it is kind of fun, but it's like nothing amazing. It's like if you like the first couple episodes, you'll like it, but then it gets like off track by like the woman who's running it has like some master plan, and it's kind of like hinted at throughout this show that she keeps collecting this stuff, and then it turns out she wants to rule the world or something like that, and it's really dumb. Like it gets really dumb at the end. Like she's got some like system or something like that. I think she revives the Soviet Union or something like that, and
I mean, that
it,
sounds like a standard ass anime, eyes and shit.
yeah,
It sounds like the plot to a Metal Gear Solid game.
I lost interest after like I didn't finish it. I couldn't watch like the last 3 or 4 episodes.
All
But
right.
like I can watch like the first like half or like the first 2/3 real easy. But then after that it starts to get like a little weird. But it's cool seeing like it's basically like if you had a Call of Duty team just like mop the floor with like these other guys in like a city. Like you've got like a couple snipers, some explosions. There's like a chick with one eye who just like kills people with knives while they're shooting at her. It's
It
kind of funny.
sounds very dumb, but it sounds like the kind of thing I might enjoy.
Yeah, you would enjoy like the first. You would enjoy like the first 2/3, but you also enjoy dumb anime stuff. So you might watch it all the way through and like it.
I don't enjoy dumb anime. I am one of
Okay,
the true classy weeaboos.
the classy weeaboos.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of, I have some more classy anime recommendations for you classy weeaboos. Uh, have,
All right, let's
have,
hear it.
have you ever heard of Kaiji? Or
No,
its sequel, prequel, spin-off series, Mr. Tonagawa's Middle Management Blues?
no.
Okay. Well, Kaiji is about a man named Kaiji, as you may have guessed. And he has a crippling gambling addiction, and is like so far in debt up to his eyebrows that he doesn't actually know what to do. And one day, this guy shows up, and he's like barely paying off kind of like the interest on his debts. And it turns out that his friend put him down as like the what's the word when you like take out a loan, like the co-signer on the loan, I guess.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
cosign.
he like co-signed on his friend's loan to help him get it, and it was from a loan shark, and now that friend has gone missing, so it's up to Kaiji to pay it back. And he's given like I think a week to pay it back, and he's told that if he doesn't, he'll be taken and like forced to do hard manual labor for the rest of his life until he pays it off. So the premise is that he also shortly after this gets invited to like a cruise liner where he can make back all of his money if he just goes and plays in this like a gambling game type thing called limited rock paper scissors. And the goal of it is you're given like 9, no, I think 10 cards at the beginning, each one being either rock, paper, or scissors, and the goal is to play with other people, win, and like if you win, you get a star from your opponent, and everybody starts with like 2 stars, I think, and you have to have at least no, everybody starts with 1 star, I think, and you have to have like at least 3 in order to win. Oh no, no, no. It's everybody starts with 3, but you have to have 3 stars at the end and also be out of cards. So you have to play. You can't not play.
Okay.
So you're forced to like go out and like play rock paper scissors against other people, but you have to use the cards. And like over the course of the game, he realizes that like, you know, if we know what people are playing, we can know what they have left in their hand because you only have a certain number of cards. And basically, if they get the right amount and they get everybody set up against each other, then him and his like 2 friends can basically game the system and kind of work their way through until he gets betrayed. It's just a really good like anime overall, and that's just like the first part of the first season. Like there's more gambling games and death traps ahead. It's really neat.
Okay.
If you like gambling and underdog stories, you'll probably really enjoy it. It's very well written, but the art style is like completely different from anything else I've ever seen. So if it throws you off too much, I guess give up because it doesn't get better than that.
Okay. I'm gonna start with an kind of obscure Adult Swim show
Mm-hmm.
and get more obscure from there.
Okay.
But the one I'm going with is the Venture Bros.
I don't think that's that obscure. I've at least heard of it. I've just never seen it.
Okay, so it's basically a comedy about like the action shows of like the 80s, um with like the super scientist that goes around and like is an archaeologist as well, and he's always got a villain, and he's always got like a kid who's in trouble, and he's got like a super team of like people who come and save the day.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just a giant play on that, and the whole premise is that the kid in that show grows up and inherits everything from his dad, and he's got a bodyguard who is literally the biggest badass on the planet. Like uh he kills like everything. He never uses a gun. That's one of his things. He just like charges at people. Um there's the the two sons, which is what the Venture Bros is named after.
Mm-hmm.
So Rusty Venture is the name of the main character, who used to be the kid of uh Jonas Venture, who was what the show, like the action show, was based off of. And then there's Hank and Dean, who are just two doofuses that like constantly need protection, and it kind of builds off of that. But it's all just like a giant joke. Like his mortal enemy is a guy who thinks he's a monarch butterfly,
All
and
right.
he's got a bunch of incompetent henchmen that only go by their own names. And the two henchmen you follow is numbers 21 and 24, and they're like sarcastic but hilarious. Um and then all the bad guys have a union. So there's the League of Calamitous Intent, and it's a giant union. So like they're not actually evil, it's just like another job.
Yeah.
And it's that's pretty funny too. Uh but then there's just like a bunch of stuff that goes along with that, and it just builds along itself. So like the first season is kind of slow, kind of finding its feet, and then like by season 2, season 3, you're just laughing your ass off because you get all the references that the show has made along the way, and you kind of get like the characters build themselves up, and they all have actual personalities. So that's my show recommendation, The Venture Bros. It's honestly hilarious. The artwork gets better too as
Mm-hmm.
it goes on. But like the last season, they had like it gets to the point where they're like, not only is there a supervillain union, but there's also like a superhero union. So like the superheroes also have their own union. So like this whole stuff plays out the same way. And at the end, it's like Rusty Venture is being a tutor for new superheroes, and the Monarch is being a teacher to a new supervillain, and they're fighting each other. And that's pretty fun. It's pretty funny to see their like whole exchange go back and forth.
Okay.
All right, you got two more.
Two more. Wow. Give me just a second.
Do you want me to?
Okay. No, I got it. Have you ever seen a show called Space Dandy?
I have heard of that.
Okay. Well, I want you to watch just the intro of it and tell me what you think. Actually, let me copy this so I know where we are. Copy this. Because it is a true work of art. Like, I don't understand how anybody could make something so beautiful.
Oh, are you?
Okay, the rest of it's just the actual anime opening. But, like, that's the actual intro, and, like, 90% of the stuff in the show, whenever there's the narrator there, he's just like, yes, this is kind of my job. I am here. And it's kind of funny because it sets off against like the absolute like insanity that is the show. Like there's one episode where every member of the cast dies and gets turned into a zombie, and the show just continues and follows their adventures as zombies. And
Oh,
it's
really?
yeah, and like that's just that episode of the show. Like they die in the first like 5 minutes or something, and then like the rest of the like 15 minutes or something of the episode is them like just being zombies and being like, yes, once they figured out that they were zombies, they realized that they had to go and find brain matter, and it's just kind of amusing and funny, I think.
Okay, you want to watch a little bit of this? This is the Venture Bros.
Maybe I don't want to get taken down for copyright. Maybe we can watch this afterwards.
Okay.
If it's
We'll
like an
watch.
actual recap, I don't want to do it. But if it's like 20 seconds of like an intro or something, I don't mind.
No, no, no. It's like it's a full like season 1 to 4 recap thing, but it's not really covers much. It doesn't really cover much, but it like gives you an idea of what the Venture Bros is like.
Oh god, that's loud. Sorry
Yeah,
about that, guys. That is some
yeah.
ear rape. Uh,
Okay. My next one. Uh, have you ever heard of the show Archer?
yeah, I love Archer.
Okay, then you will love Frisky Dingo.
I've heard it's good as well. I've
It's
never
the it's
seen it, but I've heard it's good.
it's the same like the first episode of Archer level animations, but it's the same guys who do it. And basically, there's a billionaire philanthropist who is going up against like an alien who wants to blow up the planet, but he's incompetent.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a guy who's trying to take the billionaire's money. And then there's a bunch of like the billionaire also pretends to be a superhero, but it's like painfully obvious that it's him. And all it's like the fourth character is all of like his sidekicks or like what's the superhero version of minions?
I guess sidekicks would be it. Yeah, or like
Yeah,
henchmen maybe.
yeah, something like that. So it's basically the four of them, but like everyone is so incompetent in the series that it's hilarious. Um, I think both of the billionaire and the space alien run for president of the United States
Of course
in
they
one of
do.
the episode in one of the episodes, and they get on the debate stage, and the first thing out of the guy who's like hosting the debate is, neither of you are qualified to be president of the United States. What are you doing? Like, he,
Obviously.
he goes
Is
to the billionaire,
anybody
he's like,
truly qualified to be president?
no, like he goes to the billionaire and he's like, you're not even 35. That's one of the qualifications. And then he goes to the alien and he's like, you have to be a US citizen to be president. You can't be president either. And the entire thing just breaks down right there, like
Mm-hmm.
right out of the gate. Yeah, you could definitely see some of the Archer. Uh,
That does sound
yeah.
like a very Archer-esque kind of thing. Yeah, I
Um,
also just love Archer in general because I feel like the characters in that show grow and like change and have their own like arcs and stuff. It's a lot of fun.
you you should also watch C Lab 2021.
I've
Um,
also heard that is good.
yeah,
As well
it's the
as
same.
pretty much everything in like the golden age of Adult Swim is like good, is what I hear.
Yeah, C Lab 2021
And then you have
is
like Aqua Teen Hunger Force and all the other shows.
that and Robot Chicken.
Mm-hmm.
Robot Chicken was going to be my last one. But C Lab 2021, the Archer like 2 part, or is it like a 3 part finale where they have like the C Lab that's like threatening to blow up the Eastern Harbor,
Mm-hmm.
or there's a ton of C Lab 2021 references in there.
Okay.
So
What season is
you,
this?
the Archer.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, I'll look that up real quick.
Because
You can go
I
ahead.
have not seen season 8 or 9 yet.
No, no, no. It's an earlier one.
Okay. I don't remember it, but I'm sure it was good. Was that the one where they were underwater in like the submarine or whatever?
They go. It's with like Captain Murphy. Um, It's Cheryl or Carol Tunt's brother.
Okay. Well, if you're gonna look that up, my next one, it's not so much the anime recommendation, because I wish they remade the anime, because it's really old, and they did it poorly the first time, because it's from, like, the 80s, so it has shit animation. But, the Prince of Tennis would be, like, ideal for a brand new animation with, like, beautiful, cuts and all that. Like, with, like, an actual team behind it, like, if you got literally any modern animation studio and told them, hey, make a Prince of Tennis, it would be beautiful, because it has a great story, great characters. Literally, all of them are unique, and it also has fantasy elements, so it's not just tennis the entire time. So you have, like, stuff like, oh man, if you get in the zone, you'll be able to do, like, super shots and, like, move faster than the speed of light while you play tennis. And it's so over the top by the end of it, but it's also a beautiful thing that I wish more people could see. I
Okay.
just wish it were in, like, a more accessible format than the manga, because a lot of people don't read that, because they're like, ew, reading words. Why would I read backwards?
Okay, so this is the one. It's the the season 4 finale. There's a two-part finale, episodes 11 and 12,
Mm-hmm.
called Sea Tunt, and that's where they make all the references to Sea Lab 2021.
Okay.
Because Sea Lab 2021 is basically just like the same typical Archer characters, but in like an underwater research lab.
Yeah, and this is the one where they're on, like, the submarine or whatever.
Yeah, so they pretend like a hydrogen bomb is dropped in the coast and they're going to go recover it for a reward, and then it turns out the guy is trying to blow up Miami, and then it turns out he doesn't really have any weapons either, but the guy has no money and he was trying to get paid,
Mm-hmm.
and it just turns into a giant shit show. Um, so yeah, that's the one that it has. Aqua Teen Hunger Force is hilarious. Car like you can cut out a lot of it and just watch the Carl bits, and it's still absolutely hilarious. Uh, I don't remember what his last name is.
I don't know what you're talking about, so I can't help you.
Have you never seen Aqua Teen Hunger Force?
Nope. I only
Oh,
have heard it's good.
it's Carl Bruton Nadilowski. It's here. I will copy and paste it in the chat, and you try and pronounce it.
I will attempt. Do your worst. Let me commit racism. Ah, obviously, this is Carlo Brutanada. No, Brutananada Deluski.
Yes,
Brutanana Deluski. Okay.
they make a they make a joke in one of like they're so easy to watch. They're like 10-minute episodes, but there's one where uh Shake, the milkshake, and Carl split the bill for a Russian mail order bride, and she sees both of them, freaks out, and hides behind a door. And they have the set of fries give them the like do the whole ceremony,
Mm-hmm.
and the fries are trying to pronounce Carl's last name, and he's like, just say Smith. It don't matter. It don't matter. Just say Smith.
That sounds pretty amusing.
It is actually.
The only other one I think I have on my list is well, I've got two, but they're not exactly obscure, but they're shows I definitely think that people should watch and enjoy.
Go
Uh,
ahead.
Futurama is pretty great. If you've
Yes.
never seen it, it's like classic age of, Simpsons humor, but taken to like the future, so it's more
Mm-hmm.
cool and less dumb. It feels less depressing when you watch it.
Yep. What's your next one?
And then also regular show. Like Cartoon Network put out an absolute masterpiece with that show. Like it is so good. It has so many good moments. It has good jokes. The first like two seasons have like nothing but nonstop 80s like rock music. Because for some reason they had the rights to that for like two seasons, but then they had to drop it, so then you only get like one song every other season. But like literally just the first two seasons, like every single episode, there's some like obscure or less obscure 80s pop song.
Okay.
It's beautiful.
Uh My last one is going to be American Dad. It's it doesn't start as strong as Family Guy, but it doesn't like it actually gets better. Whereas like Family Guy just kind of slowly gets worse and worse as the seasons go on because all the characters are one dimensional.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like the same thing over and over again.
Family Guy
Whereas
has its own problems. Like, literally all the characters are the same, and the characters that aren't the same are just horrible people, so you don't like them anyways.
yeah, so like the thing with American Dad is like the dad is well intentioned. He is just extremely stubborn. So he's not like an awful person. He's just extremely stubborn in his ways, and they make him out to be like um a stereotypical Republican, and his daughter is like the stereotypical hippie.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the mom is like a classical, like hot mom ditz. So she's like she is really dumb, but then she'll like just pop out with something like that she says that's either like psychopath or like it's hilarious once you kind of figure out like her character. The son is um is like your
Joey, you cut out. What did you say? You're not speaking at all. Maybe exit the call and come back.
can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Repeat what you said. Thank you. Sorry, chat.
Um he is he's like a straight up nerd.
Mm-hmm.
So there's like some adventures you can get into there. And then the thing that keeps it very exciting is that the father works for the CIA, so they can make the CIA seem like just like a joke, like a complete joke of an office. The fish is an East German downhill skier trapped in a fish's body, and they also have an alien that like their running joke is that he has like these ridiculous powers and he likes the costume change. So he just has a lot of split personalities, and that's
Mm-hmm.
how you can kind of keep the show fresh and going. Is like he just plays a ridiculous character.
Okay. You know what show we should watch at some point? We
Hmm.
should watch King of the Hill. I hear it's real good.
Oh my god, yes. King of the Hill is very underrated. There are so many just quotable lines in King of the Hill.
Mm-hmm. Even just the standard "damn it, Bobby" or "dang it, Bobby," whichever one it is. Probably "dang it."
Uh
I think the whole
yeah,
point is that he's like super wholesome.
yes. My two favorite are an F in English, Bobby. You speak English. That one, and then the other one where like Hank hires his old football coach to coach like the middle school football team, and they all hate him because he's like batshit crazy. So they all go to soccer, and the soccer coach is like the ditziest, like the pansiest guy you've ever seen, and he shouts at like towards the end of it. It's like when they're like running to goal, is like, "Don't score, we already have the tie." Those
That
like
is pretty great.
those two are just like one like those are like just droppable quotes you can constantly have, and
Hmm.
King of the Hill has those. um
Yeah, I've heard it's like a really good show for like character development and stuff too, because it actually like cares about its characters while also wanting to do like good wholesome comedy.
yeah, it's pretty funny. Bob's Burgers early on is kind of funny.
I've
it
heard it's good, but I also haven't seen it at all, and I haven't seen anything about it for like the last 2 years, so I guess it kind of fell off.
it's still going. I just like it falls into that same problem of it has like one-dimensional characters, so there's only so many situations you can put them in.
See, that's why Futurama is so perfect, because there's
Yeah,
infinite situations you can put your one-dimensional characters in. And then they
yeah.
went above and beyond and had those characters grow and learn over the course of the series.
The one thing I hate is from Bob's Burgers is the wife.
I
Like
don't know anything about it.
she like Bob is like a good guy who can't really like he's a good cook, but he can't run a restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the youngest one is like like evil and maniacal. The middle child is the boy who's in the middle. Um, he's just like really weird, but it's kind of like sometimes it's funny, but like his character needs him to not be funny at times with his weirdness.
Yeah.
And then the eldest daughter is like just extremely awkward, and that's like her entire character. But the wife just does like so many stupid things, and like she's the conflict creator. And the thing that pisses me off the most is, I guess it's just because I watched like a bunch of them all at once, maybe. But it's like every single episode she does something stupid, and at some point, like either she learns to stop doing all this stuff and creating all this conflict, or like Bob tells her to stop doing it. So I don't know. That's the only thing I that like that really irks me about the show. That
Mm-hmm.
like got me to stop watching it after like season 4 or season 5. But it's still pretty good.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. Like I said,
I,
I heard really good things about it when it was first coming out, but I haven't heard anything about it for like the last 2, 3 years.
yeah. All right. Last topic. Favorite movies.
All right, you want to go first on this one because mine might take a while.
Oh, I've got a few. So,
No, you get one.
I
It's
said movies.
favorite movie.
No, it's favorite movies.
Movies because there's two of us.
No, 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 no.
I didn't come
I
up with more than one. I only have one script.
You only have I have 4.
I don't know. I can probably pick something else that I like. Go
Okay,
for it.
well, you can't decide between Godfather Part 1 and Part 2. It's
Having only seen the first half of part one, I can successfully decide that part one is the superior one. Obviously,
You have to watch both of them. Do not watch Part 3.
I will watch
Part
part three.
Part 1 and Part 2 are amazing. They're it's perfection. And there's so much that goes into it too. Like it's one of those movies where you can watch it over and over again and it's so good. And then you can like read about the stuff in the backstory of like why certain things are the way they are.
I have read the book, in fact, for the first one.
Um I think my two favorite things is that or let's see, 3 interesting things about it. Yeah, there's 3. So the first one is that Francis Ford Coppola, the guy who directed him,
hmm
he didn't want Marlon Brando to be Vito Corleone, and someone went over to film Marlon Brando doing Vito with all the makeup, and he put all the makeup together for their whole set and sent the tape to him, and like that changed his mind. It's just like that's Vito. Like he had a picture of what he kind of wanted Vito to be in his mind, and then Marlon Brando became it just by like sitting through the makeup.
Yeah.
Um, in the first scene when they're at the daughter's wedding, and Vito's taking like the favors from all the guests at the beginning. It's the dark room. It's so famous.
hmm
It's the famous opening scene, right?
Yeah.
The cat that Marlon Brando is petting, that was a stray cat that they found on the set that Marlon Brando decided to bring with him to the shoots, and it looked so good and so natural that they just kept it into the movie.
That's pretty
So,
amazing.
and then the final one is that this movie came out during the height of the mafia. So the mafia was originally not going to let this movie play out, and I think 2 or 3 of the mafia bosses requested to read the script, and they took out any reference to the word mob or mafia. So you will not hear mob or mafia in any of the Godfather movies.
Okay.
But it was they cleared it to play. So it was like
All
it's
the heads
allowed.
do is, take out all the references to them.
Yeah, they took out all the references to them, so you won't see any of them, but it's still very clear what they're talking about. And
Hmm.
I think the mafia members liked it because it's not like what my third favorite movie is, which I'll get to later, but it paints them in a good light. It makes their whole like struggle seem like a classical story.
Yeah. Because, Mario, he's a pretty good author overall. Him and his weird, like, fetish for large penises. But other than that,
All right, go ahead.
alright, so I'll start at one of the lower ones. Lord of the Rings is fantastic, and everybody should watch it and love it, and it's one of the best trilogies
Yes.
ever made. Probably is the best trilogy ever made, like, unless somebody can prove me wrong.
Um,
Like,
I would.
name a better trilogy, and I'll fight you.
I can't say Godfather because Part Three just completely tanks it.
Hmm.
Like, if you put the two best Lord of the Rings movie against the two best Godfather movies, it's Godfather. But the third one, like as a trilogy, Godfather falls down. I would say the only other trilogy that comes close is the original Star Wars trilogy.
See, even then, that one, like, the third one just kind of falls apart and slows down a lot, and it becomes way less good. And the first one, like, the
The
first
first one's
Star
good.
Wars movie, it's good, but it's so bare bones, like, compared to what goes on in The Lord of the Rings. Like, there's so much there to grasp onto.
The
And
thing
the
with Star
characters are so
Wars,
much more fleshed out than just, I am a farmer boy who wants to get the pussy.
no, he's not that. It's the classical hero story. It was
Well,
the
yeah, I
classical hero.
understand that. But Star Wars, like, Luke Skywalker, as depicted in the first film, is a farmer boy who kind of dreams of greatness and wants to, like, join, the what is it, the Resistance, the Rebels? The Rebels, that's it.
Mhm.
It's not the Resistance yet.
He's the rebels. He wants to join the rebels. He finds an ancient tutor to help him, and then he gets caught up in the rebellion, and he becomes the hero. And it
Yeah,
was only
but
the
until after the point that he had, like, met Princess Leia, he was only kind of along for the ride because he didn't have anywhere else to go because his parents are dead at this point. He's just like, oh, I'll just join the rebellion and be a
that's
kind of a good pilot. That's my goal right now. And he's like, oh man, I gotta save this princess, man. Look how hot she is. Ooh. And then he kind of tricks Han Solo into doing it because he's like, I bet she's rich. So he already knows that if he lands this, like, he will be both a wealthy and also swimming in that good puss.
that's the classical hero story though. Luke's entire journey is the classical hero. It's
Yeah,
he's got
but
he's
like I said, it's very bare bones. Like if it had
the,
more, if they were redone by George Lucas today, I feel like he would add so much more stuff to it. But I know he would never do it.
well, the other problem you have is it was never meant to be a trilogy.
I know.
It was meant to be a one-off story, so that's why it's so bare
And then it
bones.
just got like so much stuff and so much goodness that they were just like, ah,
Oh yeah.
yes. Like I said, I feel like if he knew it was going to be a trilogy from the beginning, if he had like the whole thing planned out, it might be like a lot better. But I still don't think it could ever compare to like Lord of the Rings trilogy.
Another fun fact about Star Wars is when it came out, um, it was opposed by a lot of people because, like back in the day, those movies always had the credits at the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
and Star Wars didn't. So it was opposed by a lot of people, like a lot of unions in Hollywood for it. And uh, who was the ones who produced it?
Lucasfilm.
No,
I don't know, man.
the
It's let me look it up. I got my computer right here in
yeah.
front of me. Who
Uh,
produced A New Hope? Producers is Gary Kurtz and Rick McCullum, is what it's listed
no,
as.
the company, 20th Century Fox.
Yeah, okay. Or
Um,
distributed by 20th Century Fox
yeah.
here.
Um,
Yeah, no, it's produced by Lucasfilm and distributed by 20th Century.
yeah, that's what I meant. That's what I meant. May 1977. I'm trying to see the movie that it was released alongside of. There was a second movie that 20th Century Fox released alongside Star Wars. And
Mm-hmm.
so what they did back in the time is like, okay, you have to show this movie in theaters if you want access to this movie. So Star Wars was the one that they were like, you have to show this one as well, otherwise you don't get what they thought was going to be the blockbuster.
What is that?
I can't remember what it was.
Well, let's ask Google real quick, I guess. Uh, what other blockbuster released with A New Hope? Doesn't say.
Um, hold on, let me see. 20th
What year did it come
century
out?
19 May 1977.
Okay. May 1977 film release. What the fuck? Why is the first thing that comes up June 11th, 2013?
No idea.
Alright, 1977 in film, Wikipedia, here we go. I don't care about awards, I just want to know movies. Was it a movie that actually did well, or is it just like a really shit movie that nobody remembers because it's not Star
No,
Wars?
it was a pretty bad, like, um, I
Because,
want to say
yeah,
it
I'm
looked
not
like,
seeing anything right now, except for maybe The Deep or Death of a President or something.
I want to say actually it was like The Other Side of Midnight. Um,
Eraserhead came out, Exorcist 2 came out, Fun with Dick
no,
and Jane came out,
I'm looking at 20th Century Fox
Grand Theft
movies
Auto
released
came out, Gulliver's Travels.
May
The
1977
Hobbit
movie.
was released, the animated
No.
one.
Um,
The Iron Prefect, Italian film. The Kentucky Fried Movie. That sounds about right.
no, there's no. I don't want the Bollywood ones. Come on.
MacArthur?
Movie is really so.
I don't know,
Oh,
man.
oh, okay. Here we go. Here we go. I think it was the car.
Was it Pete's
Maybe
Dragon? The car?
no. Um, either that or Smokey and the Bandit. Maybe I don't know.
I don't know,
Whatever the
man.
movie was, it was released alongside Star Wars, and then like a week later, they switched it around and said, okay, if you want to have Star Wars, you have to show this other one like a weekend because Star Wars became huge and the whole like the script was made into a book and released like a month and a half beforehand and nobody cared. And then it came out in movie theaters and it just blew up. So there was no notion that this was going to be a huge movie.
Yeah. No, George Lucas wasn't really a very well-known person at this point in time.
And even though Steven Spielberg helped on the movie, he did not put his name to it because of the whole union issue.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be the one I'd throw up there as like competition for the Lord of the Rings.
But even then, I still don't think it can compete. Like they are like, it's up there for top trilogies, but it is not like in the same league as like Lord of the Rings.
Who else would you put in Lord of the Rings league then, though?
I don't know if I would put anyone. I've never seen another movie trilogy that comes close. It's so perfect and like ideal.
The Sharknado trilogy.
Obviously. Oh man, does Velocipaster have a sequel? But like,
No,
yeah, I can't think of any other movie trilogy that is like altogether just ideal and perfect.
I
Like
would put him
there's
at. I
so
would.
many trilogies out there and stuff like that and serieses, but all
I
of them have their own issues.
I would put them in the same league, but I would still put Lord of the Rings ahead of them.
Yeah, I don't know about that, but I mean, the Star Wars trilogy is very good. The original trilogy. I will
Like
not deny this. However, I will say that Return of the Jedi, it kind of does do some damage to the previous two films.
it does damage, but it also it closes out the series. Like
Yeah, like it
it
has very good moments. Like the moment with Luke and like Vader and Palpatine on the second Death Star is
yeah,
like one
that
of the
is
greatest moments in film history. However,
yeah.
the rest of that movie is what's wrong with it.
Um I mean there's like some things that are wrong with it. Kind of the build up too, but I still like the Luke moments in that entire series in that
Pretty
movie
much
are the
any
best.
moment that like Luke is on screen is a good moment in the movie.
That and the space battle. The space battle is cool.
Yeah. Oh,
But
I just mean
that's
all
like
around. Like anytime Luke is on screen, it's a good time in Star Wars land. Until we
so
get to the Last Jedi.
uh,
I'm not.
but that's why the sequel trilogy is just awful. They closed out the series as well as you could. I
Mhm.
don't think you could make Return of the Jedi much like yeah, you could kind of change it a little bit with like the Ewoks and everything, but
I don't know. I
still
think
it
Ewoks are fine. It's just a weird, like, cute alien culture. The only problem I have with them is how easily they're able to like take down like AT-ATs and stuff. And
yeah,
then, the Mandalorian comes in and they're like, ah, man, that AT-AT is going to be real strong and hard to fight, and it's a super killing machine. But then these cute little Ewok babies manage to take down like 40 of them.
yeah, that's that's the issue with it. That's but I again, that's probably like the only thing you could really change from Return of the Jedi. But
Yeah, like
okay.
if you just reduce the amount of opposition that they meet, it would probably help a lot.
All right. My next one, Goodfellas,
Mm-hmm.
cuz it's the complete opposite of The Godfather, yet it's still it's still the same genre. But instead of romanticizing the whole mafia, it is like the actual brutal depiction of what they actually do in the mafia. And it's the only one that's actually done really well. Casino comes close, but then there's like you could get into Sopranos, but that's not really a movie, that's a TV series.
Mm-hmm.
But like the real life depiction of what these mobsters were like is perfectly encapsulated in Goodfellas.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen Goodfellas?
Nope. I've
Oh
never seen a good movie in my life outside of The Lord of the Rings.
oh my god, Zach, you need to see Goodfellas.
I have seen so few movies in my life. I've been watching a lot of movies recently. As my wife can attest, I've been forcing her to watch them with me. But like when I have to watch them with her, there's not a lot of movie options. It's usually just science fiction, like dumb movies and stuff. Like we watched
Oh,
like Event Horizon, which was kind of cool but really bad.
you yeah. Throw Goodfellas on there. Oh my god, it is.
I'll try. She just doesn't really like talky movies.
Um,
Like if it's not
yeah,
like an action film or like a science fiction story, it's probably not going in our watch list. But maybe
it's
I'll eventually watch it by myself or we can watch it.
it's really good. It's a real life. It's based off of real life things. Um, there's two heists that happen that are famous that are actually depicted in the movie. Um, God, what? I think it's the Lufthansa heist is the big one.
Mhm.
Lufthansa heist. Yes, that's the one in Goodfellas. They steal out of JFK Airport in New York, almost $6 million, which would be the equivalent of $23 million today. I I think they do two, but the Lufthansa heist is the big one. There's also like an Air France one. but they talk about the Lufthansa heist, and it was done by this crew. It's the biggest heist in U.S. history, like the biggest one ever done, and it shows how they did it. Not like perfectly, but they kind of show how it's done. Um, but then there's like a little side note that doesn't really get expanded on in the movie, but there's a really good documentary. I'll have to look it up real quick. Go ahead and talk about your next one because I'm gonna have to do a little research.
All right, I'll just go ahead with my favorite film then. Have you ever seen the very first and original Godzilla film, but not the
Oh,
English version?
I haven't seen the original Japanese one. I've seen the English
Oh
one,
my God, man, we gotta watch it.
but I know what they added, and I can tell like
Well, they also took away a bunch, which makes me sad. Like they took away a lot of the best character development moments and stuff like that in order to kind of just splice in this guy.
yeah, I understand why they put him in there
Yeah,
to
you
try
gotta
and
appeal to an American audience, and
Mhm.
Americans aren't gonna understand Japanese culture, and this is also like right after World War II, so they're still kind of vilified.
Mhm.
But, you know, this film takes place right after World War II, and it's dealing with like the impacts in Japan of like radiation and things like that, and how people are kind of afraid of nuclear bombs and all this other stuff. And it just kind of gets down to like the deep primal fears of the Japanese people at the time, and it's like it's such a good, excellent film. It goes into like just character work is on par. You know, you got your Dr. Serizawa, who's just kind of the what is the word I'm looking for? Um, not struggling, tortured scientist, I guess. Like he knows that he has built something that can absolutely like end the entire world if used incorrectly. And he's like, God, I can't ever let anybody have this. People just found out what nuclear bombs were, and they're gonna like try and blow up the world one day. Imagine if people found this thing that can just destroy all of the oxygen in the ocean, or
Yeah,
like
no,
all of the oxygen in the air, and just
yeah, no,
kill
no.
the entire world.
I've
Like,
seen
yeah,
that part. It's kind of changed on that. So yeah, no, I the original Godzilla.
and
That's
like
kind of
it
why.
goes into a lot of character work because he's also just like, man, I really love this woman, but this woman really loves this other man, but she's supposed to marry me, but she wants him more, and I can't like stop her from that because he's a simp. But I don't know, it's just so good. Like I said, it is probably my favorite film, and I would absolutely watch it like any day of the week. So good.
I do like the 2014 Godzilla kind of had a little bit of a callback to that.
Kinda. Like, you
Um,
know, there is a doctor named Serizawa in that, and there is nothing else. That's really it.
no, they hid the terror a little bit, which is kind of what the original Godzilla was. But again, they had
Well, not even. Like, the original Godzilla, like, well, you know, it kind of builds up to it, and they're like, man, we found this giant radioactive footprint. That's kind of weird, guys. And then, like, literally seconds later, they see Godzilla kind of walking in the darkness in, like, a rainstormy night that, like, tears down houses and stuff on a little village.
Oh no, I'm saying like they're
Like, they don't really hide him so much, because he is, like, the centerpiece of the action. Whereas the 2014 Godzilla goes out of its way to, like, never show Godzilla until, like, the very end of the movie. And then you just get, like, cool-ass action scenes.
yeah. Yeah, I guess. Okay, so what it is,
But the only problem with 2014 Godzilla is also like because they hide him so much, it relies on the character drama, and the character drama is super shit.
well, it becomes shit after Bryan Cranston dies.
Well, yeah. I mean,
Um,
honestly, it wasn't great before he died.
okay, so this is covered a little bit in Goodfellas, but not a lot. Um, it's the 1978-79 Boston College point shaving scandal. Um, so what happens in the movie is that the main character gets involved with cocaine dealing, which wasn't allowed by the mafia, but
Hmm.
because he's paying up, like he's paying money to like the bosses and everything, they don't really look at like they kind of look away. And some of the people he had connections with also knew about players who played for Boston College for basketball, and they did a bunch of points shaving to make sure they won or lost by a certain amount so that they could win gambling. And It's not really mentioned much in there, but there's a great ESPN does a lot of pretty good 30 for 30 documentary series, and one of them's called Playing for the Mob, and it's all about that entire series and how the mafia like the mafia found ways and found all these found the right players and the right way to convince them to uh point shave. Um and it only came to light because of Henry Hill's arrest on a completely different charge. Like nobody knew about this point shaving scandal until Henry Hill went to prison for drug charges and then the Lufthansa heist. And he knew about both of those. And then because he knew about both of those, uh he flipped and told him everything. And then he told him about this Boston College scandal, and that blew college basketball wide open.
Okay.
So my last favorite movie is also one that Brad Pitt is in, and it was written by same guy,
Mm-hmm.
um, by Michael Lewis. I'm trying to find all the actors' names.
Okay. Take your time.
Uh, so in this movie, you have Christian Bale, Ryan Gosling, Steve Carell, Brad Pitt, and then there's like cameos from Margot Robbie, Selena Gomez, Anthony Bourdain is in it, and think I think that's it as far as like people you'd recognize just kind of by looking at them.
All right.
It's called The Big Short.
Oh, I've heard of that. I've heard it's really good.
Yes, it is a great one.
I feel like I need to eventually see it at some point. Like
It's
that
in
one, and I've heard, I think The Wolf of Wall Street is fairly good and about kind of the same thing, but not.
Wolf of Wall Street is about a single. It's a single guy, and it's basically he's doing an illegal pump and dump scheme.
Okay.
So, um, what that is um, he he puts on a facade of running like a legitimate investment firm.
Mm-hmm.
So he gets a bunch of clients, and he also gets like a small company that wants to go public and sell stocks on the stock market. So he'll help them create what's called an initial public offering. And that's when the stocks can be bought for the first time. But what he does is someone in his company will have bought all those stocks before it's an initial public offering, and then he will push to all his clients to buy the rest of the stock so that the price artificially inflates. And then once it's inflated to a certain amount, the person who has like these other stocks will sell it for much higher, and then the value will go down to the actual market rate. So a bunch of people will lose money, and he's made all that money. So that was illegal, and he eventually gets caught.
All right.
So that's basically what uh the Wolf of Wall Street is. It's a lot more about like the craziness of what this guy like went through because he was rich and hooked on so many drugs.
As you do when you do the drugs.
And it's more about him just being like a really good salesman as well. Like he's really good, and it just talks about how he gets away with like a lot of the stuff he does and how he like tries to hide stuff. Um but The Big Short is more about the 2008 financial crisis and how some people see it, but you kind of need someone to explain other stuff because even though they explain a lot of it well, there's stuff left out of it either because it would become too complicated and not a great movie, or there's like some of it is political leaning, but that kind of comes towards the end.
Hmm.
Um, but it goes into the full credit default swap thing, which is a very complicated term.
It
That
sounds fairly complicated.
it is fairly complicated, but it's like really incredible to watch how it becomes like a thing, like how it develops, and how this like these weirdos, they are legitimate weirdos. Christian Bale's character has a glass eye and has no social like cues whatsoever. Like I think he has Asperger's or something crazy like that. Steve Carell's character literally hates everyone, and assembles a team that also hates everyone and calls them like jackasses to their face and everything. Like there's an entire pitch meeting to buy these credit default swaps and get really rich, and like the entire crew of his and him are like saying, "This is bullshit. You're bullshit. You're full of shit," the entire time, just yelling at him like complete weirdos.
Hmm.
Um, and then the crew that's with Brad Pitt are like these outsiders who are basically just like buying and selling stocks and bonds in a garage in Colorado. Like that's their entire like strategy. Or that's where their base of operations is. Like they made what like the movie said they like turned like $30,000 into $170,000 in a year, but they're like trading out of their mom's garage or something like that. So like they're in their like 20s or 30s living at home with their parents trading stocks. So they're legitimate outsiders and weirdos, and it's amazing to kind of see how they stumble upon everything.
Sounds cool. Feel like I am getting relatively sleepy. Uh,
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
right. Well, I guess it's good to call it there. Before we go, I will say, I also love The Prestige, but I don't have enough time left in me to talk about it.
Oh my
If
god, I do love the Prestige.
it's literally, if I could probably pick like an absolute perfect film, this is it. Like there's
Uh
no flaw in this film. Have fun. Have a good night. I love all of you for sticking with us until the end.
yes, thank you.
We'll be doing this again next week on Sunday. I don't know what time, but if
Morning.
you are friends with us, we'll probably